Another spring day, another hard day's work in the vineyard. It keeps coming thick and fast. We're just taking a quick break, having a bite to eat, enjoying the sun and the warmth, the cool breeze that we have up here in our vines. We're still doing the épombrage, it's back-breaking work. It's going to take us a long time to get through everything, but that's entirely normal. We thought we'd take a quick break and actually talk a little bit about the article, which I know some of you have seen, that we did for Vignerons Demain, about how we came to buy these parcels and why we wanted to set up a winery and what our motivations and ambitions were.
Hello, so we wrote the article because we wanted to shine a light on why we decided to buy a vineyard and work in wine. Also to highlight the individuals who have been instrumental in us making this decision, people who've been so helpful and supportive and who without we wouldn't be in the position we are today. Also that we represent a new generation of winemakers in Bordeaux, a younger generation, and people who are in fact taking opportunity of a shift that is happening in Bordeaux but also in the wine world more broadly.
Yeah, I think we talked about that a lot in terms of, our interest coming to Bordeaux is very much because we love the wines, we love the place. It's not the easiest place in the world to make wine with the climate and everything, but we just honestly, when it's good, we just think it's so good. And from that, we wanted to try and put our own spin on it. Obviously respecting all of that tradition and heritage. Our thing really is, focusing as much as we can on the soils. That's why we bought these parcels, of this kind of silty clay limestone mix, that we think is very, very unique, not just to Bordeaux but elsewhere. And I think that's really, really important for us, is that kind of identity and the core reason for why we're doing this in the first place.
Yeah, and it's not only a passion project. We love wine, but we were also looking for a lifestyle change to work on a long-term project where we felt we could really be ourselves and incorporate our hobbies, be outside more in nature and work with the best community.
So beyond the stuff that we put in the article, one of the new things that we've discovered is how the water flows on these parcels. Quite spectacularly actually, with that 80 millimeters of rain during the springtime over one weekend. But we are here at the bottom of La Morelle, so this is the lowest part of the vineyard down here, and this is where we probably have the highest proportion of clay in the mix of our soils. We've had like a good week of really, really nice weather, like kind of beaming sunshine and quite a lot of heat actually, 25 degrees, that type of thing. So most of the soil is dry as a bone and rock hard. Whereas down here, I don't know if you can see this, but the soil's still quite humid. So I'm still leaving like a mark with my foot. You can see how kind of like wet that is there. It's soft underfoot. And actually this was the main issue when we told you we couldn't get a tractor in here. You can actually just over here see the tractor marks, quite how deep they are, which is quite telling. And so this was a massive issue for us and remains a big issue for us. There's quite a lot of water that puddles down here. The reason being is that it is at the bottom of the slope. It's also the two passages for the tractor on either side are a little bit higher, so all the water flows down into the vines. And so ultimately what we'll need to do over the next couple of years is drain this a bit better. So because it's clay, try and decompact the soil a little more, but also address this issues of the two passages, the tractor passages being higher. If we can make those lower than the vines, then in theory most of the water will drain to them and not to the vines. One, it will make it easier for us when we need to get the tractor in. Two, it will probably stress the vines a little bit less. We've got a fair amount of mortality here from the vines. I'm looking around, there's quite a few missing, and so and ultimately as well the quality will be better because there's less humidity, less disease, that type of stuff.
Another part of our daily routine is collecting dead vines and broken pieces of wood, formerly part of the trellising which supports the vines. We didn't anticipate just what a big job this was, how many dead vines and old pieces of wood we would find. And these happen when the tractor goes through the vines, and it will knock them down. So as well as the épombrage, collecting this material is tough work, it's tiring, and I can tell you, walking up and down all of these vines every day to collect up the debris, it's a lot of work. It's normal for vines to die. Rather than ripping out entire rows and starting again, our strategy is going to be to replace one by one the dead vines with new vines, therefore having a mixture of old vines with new vine genetics, because that will give us and our wine a really interesting flavour, and that genetic diversity is important for us.
So final thing, we did mention this in the article that we wrote, is the grass and the domination of grass and other invasive plants and things like that in the vineyard. You know, to be honest, we think that grass is a good thing in the vineyard, and our preference is to leave the grass cover, don't do anything to it, just mow it when it gets too much of a problem. The issue is that, you know, having been abandoned, it's become way too dominant, and actually if we don't do anything about it, we're not going to produce any grapes now or in a couple of years. So what we've been doing is we've been trying to manage all of the grass and all of the weeds as best as possible, pushing the tractor through, using mechanical methods to try and get rid of it. However, the reality of it is still this. So you got these feet of vines with large sections of weeds, like this incessant growth through the middle of the vine. I mean, this is deep, and we went through this very recently. Look at that underneath those vines there. We're getting it under control. It's not a mow it once. I mean, look at this. This is a full-on bush. It's not a mow it once and then be done with it type of job. This is going to happen over the course of a couple of seasons. Are we going to get this back under control? So, objective this year is to try and hit it as hard as we can. Give the vine some chance to access some water and nutrients, get back on its feet, build its reserves up, and then slowly over time let a more natural grass cover come back to the fore and regain that balance between the vine and the grass, because currently it's just totally in favour of the grass.
So in the article we're honest that this is going to be a huge amount of work to restore an abandoned vineyard so that the vines produce the quality of grapes that we know they can from this terroir, from the épombrage, which will take us around 10 days, the amount of rows that we have, to collecting the debris from all of the rows of vines. Our hands are full, literally and metaphorically, but we feel so supported by the community of winemakers who've been incredibly helpful. We have huge ambitions for Bordeaux wine, for this appellation, and we want to inspire a new generation of winemakers and wine drinkers, frankly, because we believe in this and we're so passionate. We love this project, so despite the hard work, we're motivated to keep going.